My girlfriend Sarah said keeping the baby was a blessing after what happened, but I didn't expect her reason had nothing to do with faith. I spiraled. Her silence wasn't strength, it was fear, and when I read her mom's message blaming her for the assault, everything collapsed. This wasn't about belief. It was about shame, control, and a legacy of silence she couldn't break alone. Back in college, Sarah always smiled through church stories, brushing off her mom's obsession with modesty and sin. I thought it was just strict parenting, but after that frat party, her mom texted her the word Jezebel. That single word rewrote my understanding of their bond. I started seeing her past not as innocent, but as conditioned, control disguised as love, faith weaponized to silence. Her world had always been tight-lipped. I remember one Thanksgiving at her parents' house. Her mom insisted Sarah wear a shawl over her sweater at dinner. It was 70 degrees. I laughed, but Sarah didn't. Later, she confessed her mom once threw away a tank top, calling it Satan's bait. That night, I saw her flinch when her mom touched her shoulder. Not from pain but history. This wasn't about protection. It was policing. Her body, her choices, never belonged to her. I asked Sarah why she changed her mind. She shrugged, said it felt right. But her eyes darted. I called Ryan. He said, "Man, it's her call, don't push." Jason was blunt. "This is God's test," and none of it sat right. Later that night, Sarah clutched her rosary but didn't pray. She just stared at it. I knew then, she wasn't deciding. She was surrendering. And no one around her could see it but me. I reached out to Bridget, one of Sarah's old church friends. She hesitated before replying, then sent me a voice memo. She used to cry after youth group. Her mom said obedience was the only way to heaven. That stuck. When I mentioned it to Sarah, she froze. "It's not like that anymore," she whispered, but her voice cracked. She wasn't free, not spiritually, not emotionally. The baby wasn't her choice, it was her penance. I tried suggesting therapy. Sarah brushed it off, said, "It's not that bad." But that night, I caught her crying in the bathroom, muffling the sound with a towel. She had journals pages filled with guilt, Bible verses, and questions like, "Is God punishing me?" It hit me. She was still that child being judged by her mother's God. And now, she was bringing a child into that same cycle, without wanting to break it. I confided in Jason again, hoping for clarity. "Maybe she needs this to heal," he said, "but healing doesn't start with silence." I asked Sarah if she ever wanted this baby. She paused, then nodded, but it wasn't conviction. It was compliance. Later, I found her calendar marked with appointments she never went to. Her handwriting trembled, choices crossed out, plans erased. She wasn't living for herself. She was still trying to please someone else's voice. We had dinner with her parents. Her mom prayed loudly before eating, thanking God for Sarah's strength and divine obedience. I watched Sarah shrink. Evelyn squeezed her hand tightly. Sarah flinched later. Sarah barely touched her food. I offered to leave early. She nodded without speaking. In the car I asked, "Is this what you want?" She didn't answer, but tears streamed down. Her silence screamed louder than any argument. She didn't feel saved. She felt trapped. Bridget called again. Evelyn used to say pain was God's way of refining us. That echoed for days. I asked Sarah if she believed that. She shrugged, maybe. I couldn't let that be her legacy. I asked, what if the baby grows up hearing the same? She looked up, haunted. I saw it land. For once, her silence wasn't fear. It was processing. Maybe the seed of doubt had finally cracked the concrete of control. I went through Sarah's messages one night. I know I shouldn't have, but I needed truth. I found Evelyn's words, "This happened because you were reckless." My chest burned. When I showed Sarah, she collapsed on the floor, sobbing. "She thinks I'm disgusting," she gasped. For the first time, she let herself be broken in front of me. No mask, no shield, just pain. That night shattered any illusion she'd been holding on to. The next morning, I asked her directly, "Do you want this child?" She didn't answer. Instead, she held up her journal, flipping to a page. "I want peace." I held her hand, then let's find it. We searched online together. Clinics, support groups. She hesitated but nodded. Evelyn called mid-search. Sarah declined. For once, she chose silence over obedience. That moment wasn't loud, but it was powerful. She was finally writing her own page. At the clinic, Sarah trembled. I offered to wait in the car, but she whispered, "Stay." Inside, the nurse handed her a form. She stared at the checkbox. "Do you feel safe at home?" Her pen hovered. Then, she marked no. My throat tightened. That check wasn't just about home. It was about her whole life. She turned to me, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for not walking away." I whispered, "Never." That evening, Evelyn showed up unannounced. She held a Bible and a box of baby clothes. God already forgave her, she said. Sarah didn't respond. Evelyn stepped inside, scanning the room. "You still have time to do the right thing." I stepped forward. She already did. Sarah stood beside me, spine straight, eyes clear. "I'm not your redemption story," she told her mother. Evelyn's face fell. Control slipped, and Sarah finally closed the door. We thought the worst had passed, but Evelyn posted on Facebook, tagging Sarah with a baby emoji and scripture quote. It exploded. Church members commented with praise and prayers. Strangers sent gifts. Sarah stared at her phone, silent. Her privacy gone. She hadn't told anyone outside me and Bridget. Evelyn had taken her voice and painted her as a miracle. "She's telling our story without asking," Sarah whispered. I saw the betrayal land like a punch. Bridget reached out, furious. She tagged me too. "She's turning it into a church campaign." I hadn't seen it, but now there were photos, Sarah's old childhood pictures, a sonogram Evelyn must have stolen from the clinic folder. "We need to tell the truth," I said, but Sarah hesitated. "I don't want to fight her in public." I understood. But silence hadn't protected her before. And this time, Evelyn wasn't just controlling. She was rewriting reality. We wrote a statement, Sarah's words, her story, just facts, no rage. We posted it together on her account. This pregnancy was never about faith. It was fear. I deserve my own voice. It went viral. Support flooded in. Women shared similar stories. Evelyn messaged furious, "You've humiliated us." But Sarah didn't flinch. "No," she replied. "You did that when you made my pain your platform." That reply, sharp, clear, was the loudest she'd ever spoken. For weeks, Evelyn didn't respond. Then, one night, she sent a letter. No apology. Just scripture and a photo of a baby blanket. "You'll regret this." It ended. Sarah stared at it for a long time before throwing it in the fireplace. The flames danced, erasing years of weight. "I don't owe her healing," she said quietly. That night, we slept without nightmares. The silence that once haunted her now felt sacred. Peace was growing. Just when life felt calm, a woman from church came to our door. She held a casserole and a flyer. "We're hosting a baby shower for Sarah next week." My jaw clenched. Sarah took the flyer, eyes wide. "Who told you?" The woman smiled. "Your mom said you were too modest to ask for help." Sarah handed it back. "We won't be attending." That door didn't slam, but it closed something deeper, another boundary drawn. Sarah started therapy weekly. At first, she barely spoke, but one day she came home and said, "I told her about the closet." I nodded, unsure. "The one my mom used to lock me in after arguments," she clarified. My breath caught. "I never knew." She called it prayer time. That clause, it was why Sarah feared silence. It was punishment dressed as piety. That day, she reclaimed her voice. It wasn't loud, but it was steady. Jason called unexpectedly. Saw Sarah's post, brave of her. He paused. "I used to believe faith was silence. Now I'm not sure." He admitted his sister had a similar experience, but their family buried it. "Tell Sarah, thank you." I relayed the message. Sarah didn't say much, but she smiled. That smile wasn't for validation. It was relief. Her pain had lit a path for someone else, and suddenly, it didn't feel wasted anymore. One morning, Sarah found her old prayer journal tucked behind the bookshelf. Pages full of guilt, penance and scripture. She handed it to me. "Burn it," I asked. She shook her head. "I want to keep it, not for faith, for memory." That choice surprised me, but it made sense. Her healing wasn't erasure. It was understanding. She wasn't that girl anymore, but she needed to remember her. That journal became history, not instruction. A closed chapter. We went to a community panel on trauma and faith. Sarah listened, gripping my hand. When the mic passed to her, she stood. I used to think obedience was holiness, but it made me a stranger to myself. The room went still. A woman in the back cried. A man nodded slowly. That night, she received dozens of messages from survivors. Sarah didn't reply to all, but she read everyone, and she knew she wasn't alone. We received a letter from Evelyn's pastor. It wasn't scolding, it was kind. "I'm sorry she hurt you both. This isn't what faith should be." Sarah wept. Not because she wanted his approval, but because someone in that world saw her, truly saw her. It was the first time a voice from that pulpit didn't echo blame. She held the letter for hours. Healing didn't come from apology. It came from acknowledgement, and finally, she was acknowledged. Months passed. One day, Bridget called excitedly. "Did you see the church website? They had removed Evelyn from the women's ministry." No announcement, just gone. Sarah stared at the screen. They never questioned her before. I asked how she felt. "I'm not sure," she said, but I saw something soften in her shoulders. A piece of justice, not loud, not final, but enough. Enough to remind her that truth, when spoken, ripples further than we imagine. Sarah's cousin messaged her after years of silence. "I went through something too." They met for coffee, laughed, cried. That night, Sarah said, "I always thought we were the only ones." Generational silence had masked shared pain. Her cousin called Evelyn dangerous in pearls. They talked about healing therapy, boundaries, rewriting beliefs. That meeting wasn't dramatic, but it stitched something inside Sarah. Family could be chosen, support could be quiet. And maybe, cycles could end. We visited Sarah's old church town, just passing through. She asked to stop by the chapel. Inside, the pews were empty. She walked slowly to the altar, touched the wood and whispered, "You were never mine." Then she turned and walked out. No tears, just a release. Outside she laughed. "It doesn't haunt me anymore." That laugh. It was joy unchained. A place that once trapped her now held no power. She reclaimed her ground. Bridget hosted a book club topic, spiritual trauma. Sarah joined, hesitant. The group was mostly women, each with her own scar. When Sarah shared her story, no one flinched. They nodded, cried, even laughed at the absurd parts. She wasn't a cautionary tale. She was part of a chorus. Bridget hugged her afterward. "You gave others permission to speak." That night, Sarah told me, "I didn't expect healing to sound like laughter." But that's exactly what it was. Evelyn tried again, this time a voicemail, calm, almost sweet. "I miss you. God still loves you." Sarah didn't delete it. But she didn't call back either. "She's still trying to wrap control in kindness," she said. I asked if she wanted to reply. No, her love always had strings. That voicemail didn't trigger her. It clarified her. Evelyn hadn't changed. But Sarah had, and silence wasn't fear anymore. It was a choice, her own. We donated the baby clothes Evelyn left behind. A shelter worker asked if we wanted a receipt. Sarah shook her head. "Just make sure they go to someone ready." On the way home, she turned to me. That wasn't closure. It was clarity. I nodded. Sometimes letting go isn't dramatic. It's steady. That donation wasn't rejection. It was redirection. She wasn't erasing the past, just refusing to carry what never belonged to her. It was enough. Sarah lit a candle one night. Not for prayer, just warmth. She curled up on the couch, journal in lap. I started a new one, she said. I peeked, page 1, this story is mine. No scripture, no penance, just her handwriting, bold and steady. That journal wasn't for shame, it was for truth. She smiled. It might take years, but I'm okay with that. Healing wasn't a sprint. It was a reclaiming, one page at a time. It's been a year. Sarah and I walk more now. Parks, no phones, just air and space. One evening, she said, I used to flinch when I saw baby strollers. I looked at her, quiet. Now I just wonder what kind of parent I'd be, on my own terms. That shift, quiet, brave, wasn't about erasing the past. It was about owning her future. The pain didn't disappear. But it no longer led, and in that silence she felt whole. One night, Sarah stood on the balcony, holding her new journal. I don't think forgiveness means what they taught me, she said. I asked what it meant now, choosing peace without their permission. She didn't cry. She didn't rage. She just let the breeze carry the moment. That journal wasn't about surviving anymore. It was about building. Each word, each page was a brick. And for the first time, she was building something just for herself. Sarah blocked Evelyn's number. No warning, no fight, just a quiet decision, the last thread cut. That act wasn't anger. It was protection. Bridget called it holy rage turned into boundaries. At first, Sarah felt guilt, then peace. Her therapist said healing sometimes feels wrong at first. That day, she didn't doubt herself. Her voice, once fragile, now set limits. And for the first time, she didn't ask if it was okay. She knew that knowledge was freedom. We spent the holidays quietly. No drama, no forced smiles. Just cinnamon tea, board games, and long walks. Sarah smiled more. Not wide, performative smiles, but small ones that lingered. The kind born from peace, not performance. She hung a framed photo of us laughing. No filters, no edits. This is my family now, she said, not out of defiance, but truth. That year didn't erase pain, but it replaced fear with choice, and that choice became her home.